Hello, and welcome back to the Brighter Podcast. I am Batsheva.
And I am Chelsea, and we are so happy to have you with us today. If you were with us for our last episode, we were talking about one of our favorite tools and techniques, and really the foundation that our whole relationship and friendship is essentially built on. And today we're going to get to expand into another tool. But before we do that, another thing that we like to do is to fully be present. And in order to do that, let's just take a few deep breaths together. So taking a deep breath in the nose, breathing in calming energy, and then exhale slowly out the mouth, letting anything that's ready to go. Another deep inhale in through the nose, breathing in soothing, quieting energy, and exhale out the mouth, letting whatever's ready to go. Last one on your own time, a deep breath in the nose, and exhale out the mouth.
Thank you. So Chelsea and I decided that we would make this episode about another couple of techniques because we both had the opportunity to use these awesome, amazing, effective techniques in our own lives this week, didn't we, Chels?
We sure did. Actually, I've used this one yesterday and today, and being someone who has kind of always been like excited and a yes person, like, yes, I'm excited to learn. Yes, I want to try something new. I would say that I am definitely one of those people. Sometimes still there is that little bit of like, is this really going to work? Like in the back of my mind. But I can honestly say this tool, I've really been amazed the last 2 days of what changes it has transpired in my emotional, mental, energetic, physical body. Like I've actually been able to feel it and pretty spot on, like right after completing it. So I'll let you talk about it a little bit, seeing as how you're the one that introduced me to this technique, actually to the person that introduced you. So I'll let you take the lead with that, and then we'll get into it.
It is a technique that I call Wreck-It. The technique is incredible. I learned it from an author named Tosha Silver. She introduces it in her books as a technique that she learned from India. And she describes it as using coconuts as a way to get rid of tough, difficult, or painful feelings and emotions and thoughts that we're experiencing by meditating those feelings, thoughts, and emotions and transferring them using our imagination into a coconut that we hold, and then physically smashing the coconut to the ground. And you don't eat the coconut after, you have to throw it away because it's been infused with all the negativity. So this technique, I call it Wreck-It, but it can be used with any hard fruit like a melon. And Chelsea, you told me you used something really creative this week since you didn't have access to the coconut.
Yeah, actually. So it was just recently my 40th birthday, and my husband surprised me by filling, I call it my sanctuary. It's where I do all my yoga, meditation, qigong, everything, breath work. And so he filled the whole room with balloons, and they've been in there for a week now. And I'm like, okay, what the fuck am I going to do with all these things? And then I was having these intense emotions because of some things that came up recently with the in-laws and just different feelings arising, different situations. And it just came to me like, oh, I'm going to write. Instead of using a coconut, I'm going to write on a Post-it note what it is that I want to release. And then I'm going to put that Post-it note on one of those balloons. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to take a deep breath, and then I'm going to pop that balloon with my hands, physically bursting it, and then throw the balloon away and burn the Post-it note. And I'm telling you what, I did that yesterday, and then I ended up seeing the in-laws for the first time. They've been here for like 5 days, and I hadn't seen them yet. And the way that they spoke at me the last time we were on the phone was awful. And I was really harboring that. And I was it was just like repeatedly running through my mind. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, where you don't want someone to be occupying your mental space like that, your emotional space, but it's almost like you can't help it. It was like obsessive in my mind over and over and over. And I was so pissed. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to fucking try this with the balloon. And I did. And then I saw them the next day, shortly afterwards, and I had nothing but love for them. I wasn't upset. I wasn't thinking about the situation. I'm still over it, which is amazing, because sometimes I've had it where it's like, okay, I'm over it, but then it will creep back in.
Seriously, the balloon technique is so genius because anyone can get a balloon and blow it up and tie it and then pop it. I mean, it sounds kind of terrifying to pop it with your hands, but I think if like for those of you out there who, would be more interested in using the balloon technique, it's so effective. And for those of you who have easier access to coconuts, like I do in California, you just fucking buy them at the grocery store. I keep them in a bowl in my dining room, and my children now know this technique too. And when they're upset, and just what Chelsea said, when that thought is just on a loop and plaguing you and doesn't let you free so you can just enjoy your life and the people around you, you grab a coconut, you meditate into it, or alternatively, a set of old gross dishes. You put them in a big bag and smash those to pieces, or like Chelsea did, do it with a balloon. Find anything that will just be satisfying, that you first hold it, meditate all those thoughts into it. Imagine you're putting them out of your body and out of your mind and out of your heart and into that balloon or coconut or object or melon. And then you physically throw it down or smash it. It is fantastic. And like Chelsea said, you just feel lighter. Like it literally just lifts it off from out of you and boom, wrecks it.
Not only did I feel lighter, I will say, if you're going to pop a balloon, our poor fur baby Gypsy, she was definitely terrified. So if you have pets, maybe try to go in the other room from them, because it really scared her. And she didn't want to hang out with me for a little while. But other than that, all good. It didn't hurt my hand or anything. I will say it's kind of like, it's really physical to pop a balloon, to really get your fingers into it hard enough to pop it.
Well, the funny thing about that, about the physicality of it and that it scared Gypsy, your dog, is that last night I was breaking coconuts outside in my driveway because I was so upset about this letter I received yesterday. It was such a shock to hear from this car insurance that I've had for 3 decades, literally uninterrupted, of like really low cost, awesome car insurance through USAA, which is service member families have access to this amazing insurance. And I've never thought twice about, I've just been so grateful to have it. I fucking got dropped from them yesterday. I have to tell you, like the volcano of eruption of emotions that I experienced that letter triggered within me, it was definitely not proportionate to the letter. Like it was, in my head, I'm thinking, no one died. Why am I this upset and this traumatized by the letter? But I had to be real. So the first thing I did after voice journaling, which is another great technique, which is just basically venting to myself, to my phone voice memo, which helped a bit, I had to physically get those coconuts that I keep on hand, and I brought them outside, and I was in the middle of smashing them when my older son Yehuda arrived home with his friend, and his friend said, "What are you doing, chopping wood?" And I'm here in, sunny California where like nobody's chopping wood over here, but he grew up in Pennsylvania and I grew up in DC. So I knew what he meant. Like in the winter, you chop wood, and the coconuts breaking sounded like chopping wood. And I did experience a lot of relief, an enormous amount of relief and release from smashing those 2 coconuts. But in my case, it didn't 100% get rid of it, but it helped a lot.
So yeah, after having such a good experience with it yesterday, and then today I got to open an email from the Airbnb reimbursement department, who notified me that they were going to give me all the money for the obscene, disgusting mess that my recent guests left, but they weren't going to reimburse for the party and all the unapproved guests, which is stated as a $300 fine. They weren't going to be giving me that. I was furious. I came home and I thought, you know what? that worked so good yesterday. I'm just going to see if I can release some more. So I kind of like yelled at the balloon, wrote Airbnb a nice little note on there and the past guest, put it on the balloon, broke the balloon, threw the balloon residue in the garbage and burned the little post-it note. And I will say, I feel much better. I definitely think that I'm now going to be able to actually write an email or get on a phone call with them and be a civil adult human being that just is very objective about the situation and able to handle it versus being the outraged, enraged woman who might sound a little crazy.
That is so genius. I love it. And I do appreciate this technique. It is so easy and affordable and accessible and doable. Like every single person on this earth should learn about it and do it because it's also a safe way to get rid of our violent emotions. Because I think what we as a civilized society like to ignore is that we still are human and we have animal traumatic responses. Sometimes, like in my case, to something that really doesn't necessarily merit it, but it did trigger buried trauma. And if we can't get rid of those violent impulses in a super safe and easy way, or maybe we pretend we don't have them, they just boil on the inside and cause trouble and interrupt our peace of mind.
Yeah, for me, it actually made me think about something because I can remember as a child, love my parents, love them both so deeply, appreciate them, appreciate my entire life because I wouldn't be who I am doing what I'm doing, living the way I am without them. And also, there was a lot of anger expressed whenever I was growing up. There was definitely a stage I went through where I was showing anger and being physical about things. But more recently, feeling anger wasn't a safe thing to feel. Feeling anger wasn't acceptable to feel. Like that there were other ways to do it, that you could breathe through it, that you could, just keep it and then calm and collectively respond. And I really feel like this technique allows you to fully embody that emotion because all emotions are equal. We kind of have them on the spectrum of these are the good emotions and these are the bad emotions. And you're allowed to feel this and you're allowed to express joy, happiness, all these good things, but sadness, like telling our kids, oh, big girls don't cry, or someone's throwing a temper tantrum and telling them they better dry it up or you're going to do something, or they're going to get it whenever you get home, or I'll show you a temper tantrum. It's just kind of crazy. And to think that there's this option to express it, not hurt yourself, not hurt anyone else, but actually physically feel the release of the emotion.
Totally, because we do grow up in this culture thinking only certain emotions and certain responses are acceptable. And I know we are taught that by our parents and by the world. And I definitely inadvertently taught it to my children too, because no one wants children exploding. I mean, it doesn't feel good. It feels dangerous. It feels scary. It feels upsetting. And we don't like to feel upset. But what is genius about this technique is it acknowledges we are human. We have that animalistic side to us that needs a strong release when we feel strong emotions. So if we can offer this option as a tool and technique to channel those big feelings in a way that is safe, effective, and even fun, and actually works to release the emotions, then we're on our way to a more balanced and happier society and culture.
I think it actually just kind of made me think back to childhood. I remember my dad, and whenever he would get pissed, and my dad is definitely the kind of person, he's not talking about his emotions. He is for sure bottling a bunch of shit up and then look out whenever it gets full because the cork's coming off the champagne and it is fucking flying far. And then there is going to be bubbles spilled everywhere. And whenever I was younger, those bubbles looked like telephones. He would get pissed and the phone would get smashed, just destroyed. And I remember thinking, now I can't talk to my friends. But now that I've discovered this technique, I'm like, damn, dad was just like releasing some things maybe you could have chose something else and it wouldn't have been as traumatic to witness. Or, I think about if you had a thing of coconuts and it was explained, like, this is what you do whenever you get mad. You take this coconut or you take this plate and you go outside and you fucking smash it. Or even if it was the phone and he's like, all right, I'm going to do this because if I don't do this, I'm going to lose my fucking shit. So anytime I get pissed, I'm going to come inside, I'm going to take this phone and I'm going to go outside and smash it. And maybe if it was something that was known and acknowledged and like, this is the way that we handle these things, this is the way we express in a safe way, it probably would have been perceived a lot better, number one, or a lot gentler from me. But now that I look back on it, I'm just like, damn. And I can remember him feeling so much better afterwards. He apologized. He didn't feel whatever, which I feel bad about now because I'm like, damn, like he was just, putting it out and he wasn't hurting anyone else.
Wow. Wow, and that makes sense because back then, of course, when you and I were growing up, and I'm even older than you, the phone was like $10, $15, like a plastic thing that we all shared. It wasn't this, like, super expensive cell phone, which I remember my oldest son when he got his first iPod Touch that looked like an Apple phone, but it was like a iPod. It was kind of expensive, and he had gotten it as a gift from my mother, his grandmother. He was playing some video game on it. He got super emotional, and he threw it and smashed it and broke it, and we were all like, and literally, he wasn't allowed a phone till he was, like, 13 and a half. Which, by the way, all the kids had their phones already by 11 and 12, in his grade and everything, but he because we were so horrified that he threw the expensive, iPod phone. And again, like you said, looking back, I'm thinking the kid, first of all, he was like 10 years old at the time, 9 even, I think. He's just doing what makes sense at the time when you're upset. And if I had had that bowl of coconuts that my kids have access to now, how could things have turned out differently? And I'm wishing so strongly that we can all learn this simple and fun and easy technique and share it with our friends, families, and children and use it and experience literally the transformation that it offers because it's pretty fucking amazing.
I couldn't agree more. After I popped those balloons, I don't know if anyone else has ever felt this. A friend that I have, she calls it spidey senses, but it's essentially the goosebumps whenever your whole body is tingling and like the hair is kind of standing on end. I have come to recognize that as being like my energetic body, like oh, I'm feeling something. And it's not because I'm cold. This is a feeling. And after I popped those balloons yesterday, my whole entire body felt like that. And it felt like energetically, all of those things were leaving me. And that was fucking incredible.
That sounds amazing. I do agree that we have an intuition. That's the spidey sense. And it's so cool when we feel it. Sometimes it's not accessible. And when it is, we're like, oh, yep, confirmation.
I will say that the balloon, fairly easy to pop. It does take a little bit of concentration or squeezing, like willingness to squeeze it, even though you know it's about to explode. Since I'm in Missouri and don't have access to the handy little coconuts. But the first time I ever tried this technique, I was actually in Costa Rica where there were these giant coconuts on the beach and there was this huge rock. And I don't even remember what I was so triggered about, but I had decided, okay, I'm finally gonna use this technique. And I even was videoing myself in my swimsuit on the beach in Costa Rica, attempting to smash this coconut on this gigantic rock. And the coconut was so fucking strong. It was so much energy that I had to exert to smash this coconut. And it was also hilarious. I was dying laughing. Coconut juice was all over me. But it just goes to say that, you can really choose anything, whether it be, like we said, a dish. Preferably, if you're going to do that, I would recommend doing it like in a pillowcase to keep it contained so that you're not cleaning up glass everywhere or having the opportunity to hurt yourself or someone else. But yeah, anything, whatever it is, smash the fuck out of it.
Well, I remember that when you sent me that photo and that film from Costa Rica, I was dying laughing because I had told you about the technique and you were excited to use it, but I didn't realize that there's different kinds of coconuts, and I'm using the little round brown ones that already come peeled from the outer shell, and you just, like, smash them and they crack open, and you had this, like, huge huge, like thick with the whole outer shell. I mean, it was like a prehistoric egg, like there was no getting it, but you actually did crack it, which was very impressive. But one thing I was thinking is that we could invite our listeners to either comment or email us at thebrighterpodcast@gmail.com and tell us your ideas. Like, what else besides a coconut or balloon or dishes could you imagine or would you want to try to smash safely, to wreck? And let us know if you have any great ideas or if you actually do any of those things. Working out, doing boxing, sometimes that can even have the same effect, like a punching bag.
Yeah, you can envision whatever or whoever being in that bag, and then you're smashing it with your hands. There's a concept, it's called heart coherence, and it's really about feeling into the feeling into what it would feel like if you achieved something or if you let something go, or just envisioning something already happening and tuning into your heart while you're doing that. And I think that it kind of ties into it because you're thinking about the thing that you want to leave. You're physically putting it inside of coconut, balloon, dish, whatever it is. And then you're getting rid of it. You're smashing it, you're breaking it, you're disposing of it. I mean, science has proven everything is energy, and it's a way to move energy, to transmute energy, to get it out of your body, out of your mind, out of your heart, and to release it in a safe and healthy way.
And it's kind of fun.
Definitely fun. Definitely fun.
Well, this wraps up our third episode. Thank you for joining us on the Brighter Podcast.
Yes, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Make sure to join us and let us make your day brighter.